The season starts with Cassian meeting a contact. Then he walks straight into a prototype plane, has no idea what he's looking at, and just starts pressing buttons. He knows the contact is there. That has all been set up. The contact did all the planning. And then he shows up and just wings it. He didn't have to do this. This isn't the same Cassian from Season 1. In the first arc, there was a lot of ad hoc, there was a lot of improvisation to get out of the mining settlement, but that's because everything was thrown at him at once. And a lot of that stuff was pre-planned, it just didn't quite work right, it was fail-safe, so it was all of that, right? He had an idea of what was going on, but there was a lot of improv. In the bank heist, that was a lot of surveillance, that was a lot of planning. They only had to improvise when things went wrong, but because they had that planning, they got through most of their struggles that way. His improv is what sets him apart, his ability to adapt and overcome. True. But there is planning, there is logic, there is reducing the risk as much as possible. The third arc, the prison, that is all planning. That was gorgeous. That was working with other people, getting information, spreading information, finding out how to overcome those impossible odds. Very little of that was improv. But here, a full year later, he has a lot more experience. He allows the mission to get set up by other people, meets his contact, she put in all that work, and then he just gets in the plane and wings it. That is very disappointing. The thing is, he didn't even have to do this. He got in as a test pilot. The staff there believes he is a test pilot. He could have gone in, he could have found a manual, which they said that there's no manual for this plane, but this is a prototype plane. There will be a manual, and let's say that there isn't. He at least can get in and look at the controls. He can wait a day or two when he's supposed to test fly it and look at the controls. Although, he could just look at it that night. He could just walk in and look at that night. Take some time before moving. Because he doesn't do this, once he starts pressing buttons, he completely loses control of the thing. It flies around, it bounces into things. It should be causing damage, but since it's a prototype, I'm willing to believe that it's more sturdily built. Since he's bouncing around, it sets off alarms. All stormtroopers show up. The stormtroopers stand right out in the open. There are crates, there are walls, there are quarters. They do not take cover. They just stand out in the open and start shooting at this ship with absolutely no effect. None of them are taking cover until Cassian finds out how to shoot the thing and guns all of them down. And then it gets very egregious because there's one guy with a rocket launcher and he just stands there unmoving, waiting very patiently for Cassian to find out how to load the big guns. This reduces the stakes because these are the bad guys here, alright? They're supposed to be intimidating so that there's something to lose or something to fear. If they're competent, that's a very scary thing for our good guys. Season 1 nailed that. Season 1 of Andor really helped recover the image of the Empire, of the Stormtroopers, as a capable threat. But here we got Stormtroopers out in the open. They're just getting mowed down like it's no problem. They're not running for cover. They're not even moving. They're just waiting to get shot. Very disappointing. Once he finds out how to shoot the big guns so they can melt through metal, he uses that to shoot through the door. All good. I like that. But then once he got most of it weakened, then he just drives the plane straight through it. You know, a few more shots, you could have finished the hole you were making instead of ramming your prototype spaceship through a thick iron, yeah, sure, they're steel, thick steel, and sure, there's holes in it, but you're still ramming it through like 6 inches of steel. That was very stupid and unnecessary. Once he gets out, there's some problems and whatnot, and he's basically figuring out how to fly this thing evasively on the fly as he's getting chased. There was no need for that. This is him improvising when he doesn't have to. There was no planning. There was no thought process behind this. There was no surveillance. There was no gathering information. There was no sneaky plots or ploys. He just showed up, talked to the contact, and then winged it. And because of that, we have drama without cause. And we didn't need that either. If he spent a day or two, if he did the things I recommended, like finding the manual, or hey, yeah, no manual, sure, why not? It's stupid, there would be a manual. But let's say no manual, shows up, looks at the controls, gets a feel for it before he steals it. 2 TIE fighters is still a threat. You can still have your chase, but without the extra stupid drama of not understanding how to fly the thing at all, when he should have an idea of that. So, he gets out, then he goes to this planet, Jungle Planet, to meet his contact so that that prototype ship can get smuggled off. Good so far. He lands, he goes out, and people in the wood line yell at him to drop his guns. This could still be good, right? This could still be just his contacts being paranoid, which I would expect in a resistance movement, and I was very happy that this was happening as it was happening. But then somebody else from the wood line yells out that there's 15 of them with blasters. And then somebody else from the wood line yells at that other guy to tell them, hey, don't tell him exactly how many of us there are. So that takes the tone right back down. From a serious moment, serious meeting, serious people, down to clown show, where it's just cutting in humor immediately. There were some jokes, there was some humor in season 1, but it was overall serious. And because it was so serious most of the time, the humor really hit. Because it was a surprise. They waited until the moment was right. I highly preferred that. And that was the tone they kept through season 1. Now season 2, these guys, as you find out, are a different rebel movement, and they are all retarded. They're all bickering, they're all stupid, they make bad decisions, and it's just joke after joke after joke after joke at these guys' expense. It is very frustrating. These guys are made clowns for the humor of it, and not even to push the little mini civil war they have, because you can get that civil war without that. They didn't need to do this stupid clown stuff. What they could have done is have contradictory orders. Because you see this in horrific body cam footage. So if you have a rebel group that's divided and they're ready to split, and you want to show that on the big screen without making them look like clowns and stupid, they don't need to be clowns for this to happen. You can have one side tell him to drop his gun while the other side tells him to lie down. One side tell him to put his hands in front of him while the other side tells him to put his hands on the head, talking over each other. That builds a lot of tension that would help with the tone there without making them look like clowns. Later on, once he's captured, you can have a little bit of clownery here and there, just a little jokes, whatnot, but they took it way too far, way too fast. Once they got him, they see that he's a pilot. They see that he landed a prototype ship, and he's asking for his contact. He's not scared or angry that a bunch of rebels took him. The way he's acting is he's meeting a contact. But they believe that he's Imperial, and he says no, but then they find his helmet that shows that he's a test pilot. And that convinces all of them that he really is an Imperial. That, again, these are clown people. This is very, very stupid. That helmet only shows that he's a test pilot. It doesn't show he's loyal. Why the hell would a test pilot be flying a prototype, one-of-a-kind ship straight into the middle of nowhere to have a one-on-one meeting with somebody? This is obviously a defector of some kind. They don't even have to trust him right away. They can still say, hey, yeah, you're probably, but we don't know you. We didn't plan this, so we still gotta cuff you and whatnot, right? They don't need to just assume that he's somebody he obviously isn't. So again, very disappointing. They didn't have to do this, and they could have still had the story go the way they wanted it to go. Takes a while, a lot of bickering, a lot of distrust. They split their ranks, there's some fighting and whatnot. And then at the end of it, it looks like they're almost in agreement. They're trying to parlay or something. And then Cassian takes his chance to escape. That part is good. Because that part, it was improv. He moved, he kicked something aside to grab a gun, shot a gun, captured the guy, and then snuck out right as they were all distracted. There is improv in there, but even with that improv, there was planning behind it. He was in that cabin for a while, handcuffed. He had an idea to look around. He knew where things were because he was watching where people were putting things. He had this plan developing over time. That is the kind of improv I really like. That is the kind of planning he has by himself, surrounded by hostiles. That was fantastic. I love that. Gets away, he gets in the ship, he takes off. While in space, he messes with the wires to call back home, call his contact. He finds out his friends are in trouble. He goes straight there. So while in space, remember, no manual, he's kind of floating around in space, he found out how to use all the navigation and how to use light speed. And then once he gets there, he gets into a big old fight, and he's shooting down vehicles, he's shooting down individual people and tracking them through the sensors. He has control of the ship now, without a manual. So really, it just goes again to reinforce, he should have taken more time at the very beginning. They just had him wing it for drama and improv's sake, when that was not necessary, and it makes the character look dumb. Not a fan. So that's kind of where we're at there. Big disappointment. So the title isn't clickbait, but there was a few other things going on. There was the happy couple that we're meeting. She is very cold, very calculating. He's something of the same, a little bit more immature, but still very by the books, by the numbers. The way they meet the mother, the way she's nervous before the mother comes in, the way she's practicing smiling beforehand, the first time we ever see her do that. She's putting on a face to talk to her. She's using the same techniques she uses for her job in order to meet, well, her boyfriend's mother. Very cool. I'm not going to spoil much in there. A lot of good stuff. I got nothing mean to say about that. The wedding going on. The wedding is a big event. There's a lot to plan for. It's very busy. Plus, the mother doesn't want it to happen. She's trying to convince her daughter not to do it here and there. She's really not comfortable with it, but it's something she has to do because she made a deal with the devil beforehand to make her finances squeaky clean so that nobody would know she's helping the resistance. A big part of season 1. That deal with the devil goes sour. After he helped clean up her stuff, some of his investments are now suffering because of unrelated rebel activity. And now it's setting up that he might be a weak point, that something has to be done there. And as that's happening, she's still trying to figure out her stuff with her daughter. There's some communication error going on. It's a lot of stuff going on where she has to put on a happy face for all the guests and everybody, while deep down she's starting to panic. She's getting really worried. And the way, even the music choices that they use. I can tell not a lot of people are going to like this. I'm very biased here because I really like dubstep, but I think that the music choice was very good. Because that can be a party song, a happy dance, let's have fun song, but even when you're listening to it, you can hear kind of eerie undertones behind it. So it works both as let's celebrate, let's dance, and also as a sort of what the character is feeling in that moment as her life is collapsing behind closed doors, as everything's coming to a head, but she has to put on a happy face. Very cool. Very cool. Farm world, I love it. The mining world, it's very retro sci-fi. It's very hands-on. It's very gritty. It's very real. That was great in season 1. And now we've moved to a similar but different. It's a farm world. The whole thing is wheat, giant fields. These guys, they're acting as mechanics. And what I love this part. They're changing out some gears for a water pump, so that they can pump water up and then spray it once it gets up to the top. The gear that they pull out and that grease, that is like almost spot on. Like I've worked with similar gears before. That was great. Their world is coming under inspection, and Cassian is late for his contact. They're trying to stay below radar, but it's getting more and more obvious that that is not going to happen. It really builds the tension slow over a period of time in a very believable way. I am a big fan of the farm world plotline. That leaves us with Cassian being the weak link. All of his surveillance skills, all of his ability to plan, all of that, it got thrown away for whatever reason, except for one great example where he broke out. But yeah, that was hugely disappointing. The stormtroopers are all acting like idiots around him for no other reason than we need to see lasers get shot on screen and for him to beat them. That was very disappointing. But everything around it, it was built up over a period of time, piece by piece by piece by piece. It looks like the Farm World section is now over. That took 3 full episodes for it to finally reach conflict. The happy couple took 3 whole episodes for it to reach the conclusion, I'd say, the partial conclusion. There's still more in store for there, I can tell. So it's not quite done yet. It's still building. And the wedding is nowhere near done. It is still building up. There's still so much there. So, a lot of good stuff in here. I'm happy with the slow draw stuff that they're building. But by God, the action scenes are not there. The setup for the action's not there. The heist stuff is not there. The combat is not there. The choreography is not there. That is very disappointing. But maybe a 6 out of 10 disappointing. I'll still watch the rest of the season. It's good so far, but hey, I'll check in later. Have a good one, guys. Remember to drink water.